it might be the case in the real world where those sources contradict themselves, and the model has to pick and try to decide, hey, this source is actually more updated, so this is the right one. And it's a whole game, and I think it's kind of an artwork to decide and control the context of these models. We have a few different things, but I'm not sure if Cyril, you want to introduce the topic.
I have some
context engineering.
intermediate view quickly. I mean, you perfectly laid out it incredibly well, Joao. So it's basically, yeah, we somewhat run into, let's call it an optimization problem for context engineering itself, because we want to have basically the ideal set of context, and that just doesn't come by default. So we need to make sure that we have a set of functions that we can retrieve, select, we can filter, or we can even augment the context before we actually inject it into the large language models. And just in practice, even though once again on this study, they did it with, let's call it maybe not super complex content. So for example, if you run it in the same way, for example, in the industry, financial services, insurance, or even medical, it might actually be yielding even worse results than if we see now in this study by Chroma, basically. So that's kind of the core idea. It's an optimization problem that we need to make sure that we have the maximum possible output of the large language models once we optimized the functions to retrieve the context. And there's a hard constraint also, of course, because the context windows, that's kind of what you're trying to optimize in the first place. So if you think about the optimization problem here, it's actually the context, the model context length by each of these models. And they have different model context lengths, of course, yielding in the future probably even larger ones.